Every producer I know has typed the same thing into Google at some point. How to make my mix sound more analog. And the advice is always the same. Throw a tape saturation plugin on the mix bus and crank it until it sounds warm. But here's the problem. Most of the time, that just makes your mix sound muddy. You're adding harmonics, sure, but you're adding them everywhere, including places that destroy your clarity. What if I told you there's a plugin that was specifically designed to give you tape warmth, transformer color, and compression, and it lets you target exactly where those harmonics go? Hello, and welcome to Kinetic Sound, where we embrace the idea that we don't start as professionals, but we can all become pros with practice and knowledge. I'm Ken, and today we're going deep on one of the most misunderstood plugins in the UA catalog, the Empirical Labs FATSO. Before we touch a single knob, I want you to understand where this thing comes from, because the story behind the FATSO explains why it sounds the way it does. The FATSO was designed by David Durr, the same engineer who created the legendary distressor, which you'll find in virtually every professional studio on the planet. But Dave didn't start in the studio world. He actually started at Eventide, the company behind H3000 harmonizer, the H3500, and the DSP4000. These were the cutting-edge digital effects units of their era. So Dave was working at the frontier of digital audio processing before he ever built an analog compressor. And here's the twist. His background was split between rock guitar and classical piano and composition. He studied music formally in college and then went to work at a medical electronics company where he trained under Jim Bryan, an MIT-trained engineer who taught him circuit design from the ground up. So you've got a guy who understands music deeply, both from performance and theory side, who also understands digital signal processing at the highest level, and who was trained in precision analog circuit design. That combination is rare, and it's exactly why the FATSO sounds the way it does. After the distressor became a studio standard, Dave started working on his next project in 1997. He wanted to build a device that captured the characteristics of analog tape, the warmth, the compression, the harmonic saturation, but in a controllable, repeatable package. The name says it all. FATSO stands for Full Analog Tape Simulator and Optimizer. But the development was brutal. Dave has said publicly that the FATSO almost got thrown away because it was so difficult and expensive to build. The circuitry is a hybrid, digitally controlled analog, meaning the signal path is analog, but the controls are managed by a microprocessor. This gave Dave precise control over complex analog behaviors that would be nearly impossible to manage purely with analog circuitry. And here's how you know the pro world took notice. Brendan O'Brien bought one of the first prototypes. Al Schmidt and Ed Tranny, absolute legends, also adopted the FATSO early on. These are engineers and producers who have worked on records that have sold hundreds of millions of copies. The FATSO wasn't designed to be a one-trick pony. It was designed to be a multi-tool for analog, character, tape, transformers, tube, and compression, all in one box. Here's what makes the FATSO so unique. It has 4 distinct processing sections working together in a single unit. Engine 1 is saturation and distortion. This is where FATSO emulates the harmonic characteristics of Class A circuits and magnetic tape. It generates second and third order harmonics that add thickness and warmth to your signal. Think of it as the color stage. It's adding new harmonic content that wasn't there before. Engine 2, warmth, this is the one most people get wrong. It's not a low-pass filter. The UA manual describes it as a very strange high-frequency gain control circuit, essentially an HF limiter that mimics how magnetic tape self-erases high frequencies at higher input levels. The louder the signal, the more highs get tamed. It's level dependent, and that's what makes it sound natural instead of static and lifeless like a regular EQ cut. Engine 3, Tranny, short for transformer, this is our main subject today, and it's the secret weapon I promised you. The Tranny circuit emulates the saturation behavior of audio transformers and tape heads. It adds low-frequency harmonics that help bass content cut through on small speakers, such as earbuds, laptop speakers, phone speakers. We'll go deep on this in a moment. Engine 4 is compression. 4 distinct compressor modes in one unit. Bus is gentle 2-to-1 ratio for mixed bus glue. The GP, general purpose, medium attack, slow release, your versatile workhorse. Tracking is modeled after the 1176 fast and aggressive. Spank modeled after the famous 70s and 80s SSL talkback compressor. It's extreme and explosive. Now, most tutorials on the FATSO treat this like a compressor with some saturation options on the side, but that's backwards. The real power of the FATSO is in those first 3 engines, especially when you understand how to combine warmth and tranny with parallel processing. Let me explain why the warmth is so much more interesting than most people realize. When you roll off high frequencies with an EQ, you're applying a static cut, the same amount of reduction regardless of what the signal is doing. Your quiet, delicate passages lose their air. Your loud, harsh passages might still poke through. It's a blunt instrument. The FATSO's warmth circuit works differently. It's a level-dependent HF limiter. When the signal is quiet, the highs pass through relatively untouched. When the signal gets loud, when those harsh transients and sibilant peaks hit, the warmth circuit clamps down on the high frequencies proportionally. This is exactly how real magnetic tape behaves. At higher recording levels, the oxide particles on the tape literally can't hold the high frequency information. The tape self-erases the highs. The result is a natural musical high frequency taming that responds to the dynamics of the performance. On the FATSO Senior, you have a dedicated warmth knob that lets you dial in exactly how aggressive this HF limiting is. And because it's dynamic, not static, your mix retains its air and sparkle in the quiet moments, while the loud, harsh peaks get smoothed out naturally. That's the difference between warmth and muddy. Mud is static, warmth is dynamic. Now, let's talk about the tranny circuit and why I'm calling it a secret weapon. In the analog world, audio transformers are everywhere, in mic preamps, in console channels, in outboard gear. Every time a signal passes through a transformer, the electromagnetic coupling adds subtle harmonic distortion, especially in the low frequencies. This is one of those things that engineers have known for decades, but rarely explain to producers. Transformers add low frequency harmonics that make bass content more audible on small speakers. Here's why. When you play a bass note through laptop speakers or earbuds, those speakers often can't reproduce the fundamental frequency. They simply can't move enough air. But if that bass note has harmonic overtones at higher frequencies, let's say second harmonic or third harmonic, those overtones can be reproduced by small speakers. Your brain uses those overtones to reconstruct the perception of the fundamentals. It's a psychoacoustic phenomenon. The FATSO's tranny circuit is specifically designed to add these low-frequency transformer harmonics. On the FATSO Senior, you get a dedicated tranny level knob that lets you control exactly how much transformer color you're adding. And here is the critical distinction from the warmth circuit. Warmth targets the highs. Tranny targets the lows. They're complementary processing. One tames the top and the other enriches the bottom. Used together, they reshape the entire harmonic profile of your signal. But here's the catch. If you just slam the tranny on your mix bus at 100%, you'll get too much low end saturation. The bass will get thick and woolly. That's mud. Which brings us to the technique that ties this entire video together. The reason I specifically chose to pair warmth and tranny with parallel processing for this video is because it solves the fundamental problem with saturation. You want the character, but not the damage. Here's the concept. Instead of inserting the FATSO directly on your channel or bus, you send your signal to the FATSO on a dedicated auxiliary bus, process it there, and then blend the processed signal back in alongside your clean original one. This gives you three superpowers. One, blend control. You choose exactly how much analog character gets mixed in. Want just a hint of transformer warmth? Keep the send low. Want aggressive tape saturation? Push it up. You're always in control. Two, frequency balance. Because your clean signal is still there, untouched, you maintain your clarity, your transient detail, your stereo image. The FATSO processing adds to your mix rather than replacing elements of it. Three, separate EQ and processing. On your parallel return, you can add an EQ after the FATSO to shape only the saturated signal. Cut the lows on the return if the tranny is adding too much weight. Boost the presence range to bring out the transformer harmonics where they matter most. Let me walk you through how to set this up in your DAW. Create a bus or an auxiliary channel. Insert the FATSO senior on that channel. Set your warmth and tranny to taste. I'd start with warmth around 3 to 4 and tranny around 4 to 5 as a starting point. For the compressor section, I'd recommend starting with bus mode, the gentle 2 to 1 ratio, or even bypassing compression entirely if you want to isolate just the saturation characteristics. Now, from your source channel, whether that's your drum bus, your bass track, your mix bus, send to that FATSO bus. Start with the send level low, maybe -12 to -15 dB below your dry signal, and gradually bring it up until you hear the character arriving without losing clarity. The magic happens in that blend zone. Too little and you won't hear the effect. Too much and you'll start degrading your clean signal. The sweet spot is where you feel the warmth and the weight, but your transients and stereo image are still intact. Let me show you this in action. First up, drums. Here's a drum bus with no processing. Listen to the cymbals and the overall brightness. Now, here's what it sounds like with the FATSO on a parallel bus. Warmth, engaged. Listen to how the harsh cymbals transients get tamed without killing the attack of the kick and snare. Hear the difference. The highs are still there. There's still air and shimmer, but the harshness is gone. That's the level-dependent HF limiting at work. A static EQ cut would have killed the air entirely. Now let's hear the tranny circuit on bass. Here is the bass line clean. On the full range monitors, this sounds fine, but on a laptop speaker or earbuds, the low end disappears. Now here's the same bass with FATSO's tranny circuit on a parallel bus. Listen for the harmonics that appear in the upper register. That's the transformer saturation, creating overtones that small speakers can't reproduce. On headphones or earbuds, that difference is dramatic. The bass doesn't just disappear anymore. It has presence and weight even on tiny speakers. Finally, the mix bus. This is where Parallel FATSO really shines. Here's the full mix clean.
I'm my own man, won't be tied down. I've got my own plan, I'll make my own choices. I'll take the lead, can't control me. I'm my own man, won't be tied down. I've got my own plan, I'll make my own choices. I'll take the lead, can't control me.
Now here's the same mix with the FATSO on a parallel bus, both warmth and tranny engaged, blended in subtly. Bus compression mode at a gentle setting. Listen for the cohesion, the analog glue quality.
I'm my own man, won't be tied down. I've got my own plan, I'll make my own choices. I'll take the lead, can't control me. I'm my own man, won't be tied down. I've got my own plan, I'll make my own choices. I'll take the lead, can't control me. I'm my own man, won't be tied down. I've got my own plan, I'll make my own choices. I'll take the lead, can't control me. I'm my own man, won't be tied down. I've got my own plan, I'll make my own choices. I'll take the lead, can't control me. I'm my own man, won't be tied down. I've got my own plan, I'll make my own choices. I'll take the lead, can't control me.
That's analog character without mud. The mix still breathes. The transients are intact. The stereo image is wide. But there's a warmth and cohesion that wasn't there before. That expensive studio quality that producers chase. If you found this tutorial valuable, smash that like button and let me know. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit subscribe so you never miss one of these deep dives. Tap the notification bell too, so you're the first to know when a new one drops. And if you want a complete reference guide to go along with this, I've put together an EL7 plugin cheat sheet covering both the FATSO Junior and the FATSO Senior. It includes every parameter, every mode, recommended starting settings for common scenarios, and a parallel processing signal flow diagram. It's completely free, so head over to the link in the description to grab your copy. I'd love to know, what source material would you run through the FATSO's parallel path first? Drums, bass, mix bus, something else entirely? Drop it in the comments. So let's recap what we've learned today. The FATSO is not just a compressor, it's a 4-engine analog character tool, saturation, warmth, tranny, and compression, designed by Dave Durr, the same engineer behind the Distressor, drawing on his experience at Eventide and his deep understanding of both analog circuits and digital signal processing. The warmth circuit is a level-dependent HF limiter that tames harshness dynamically like real tape without killing your ear. The tranny circuit adds low-frequency transformer harmonics that help bass translate to small speakers. And the key technique, parallel processing. Send your signal to the FATSO on a bus, blend it back in, you get the analog character without sacrificing clarity. Warmth tames the top, tranny enriches the bottom, parallel processing lets you control the dose. And if you missed my deep dive on what actually happens when you turn the attack knob on a compressor, check that one out right here. It'll change how you think about every compressor you own. And coming up next, we're diving into the manly massive passive, the expensive polish your mix bus is missing. If you ever wondered why your mixes sound good but not finished, the video is going to be a game changer. And if you want to see even more deep dives on the features of this incredible plugin, keep coming back to the channel. We've got a lot more FATSO to cover in the future. Until then, keep practicing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.